full agenda. Again, if you would please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative.
All right, couple special presentations tonight. First of all, an Arbor Day proclamation. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lowering our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Sue Fuchman, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, by the power invested in me, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2016 as Arbor Day in the City of Norfolk, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day by supporting efforts to protect trees and woodlands, planting and caring for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, and participating in a tree planting opportunity on their property or in their neighborhood. With that, are you accepting this for us?
I am.
All right. We will let you address if you want to. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Hugh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the Arbor Day proclamation. Trees are a pretty big deal. They are important for future generations, and I'd just like to take a few minutes to highlight some of the accomplishments of the Tree Advisory Board.
After you quickly introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm Michelle Revitz, and I'm on the Tree Advisory Board. This year, we got a grant from the Lower Elkhorn Natural Resources District for 250 trees. These are going to go out into the community forest to help protect the wellhead out west of town. We also got 18 trees for the Elkhorn River Trail out on First Street. This year, the Nebraska Forest Service designated Skyview Park as an statewide arboretum. And we also got a grant from Retree Nebraska, which is through Nebraska State Arboretum, for 10 new trees out, and they went out at Skyview. To be celebrating Arbor Day this year, we're going to be planting a tree at Washington Elementary. And we also gave out 2 landscaping awards earlier this fall. That was pretty fun. Dr. Serber spent a tremendous amount of time writing informational articles on emerald ash borer and kind of what's going on, what to look for, and how to kind of prepare for that oncoming borer. And we've got 2 really cool programs going on also. We've got Be a Tree Bud, and that is just marking on your water bill or just signing up and donating $2, and that will go to trees on city-owned and city-maintained property. We've got about 37 people signed up, so there's plenty of room if you haven't gotten signed up for that. We've still got lots of room for you, and we've got about $300 collected. So that money is going to go towards replacing trees. The city of Norfolk actually has about 114 ash trees on city property or city-maintained property. We're planning on losing about all of those to the emerald ash borer when it gets here. So that tree bud program is going to be really instrumental in replacing those trees. And our final program is tying into the 150th celebration. We are encouraging all residents of Norfolk to plant 150 trees. And all we're asking you to do is when you're planting your tree, take a picture of your group and send it in to Diane Becker here at the city, and she's going to put it up on the website. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you being here for us, and thank you for what you do. You know, our tree board It was slow going in the beginning, but it's become a very active group, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate what it is that you're doing and the difference you're making. So thanks for being here tonight. Okay, and the second proclamation is Fair Housing Proclamation. Whereas April 11th, 2016 marks the 48th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which a national policy for fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, family status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the Norfolk Housing Agency and the Norfolk Housing Development Division of the City of Norfolk are committed to highlight the Fair Housing Law, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, by continuing to address discrimination in our community, to support programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and to plan partnership efforts with other organizations to help assure every American of their right to fair housing. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Sue Fookman, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim April 2016 as Fair Housing Month. Okay? All right. And with that, we will move on to the agenda, a public hearing. First public hearing is a request to comply with the provisions of State Statute 18-1755 before the consummation of purchase of property by the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, which is property located north of Norfolk Avenue between the flood control and Victory Road. And with that, I will open this public hearing and look to,
Dennis will talk about the,
all right, Dennis, go.
we've previously had a public hearing to acquire about 15 to 20 acres immediately north of this tract that would be used for storm drainage between, and that tract was located between Victory Road and the flood control. There's two pieces of property tucked up next to the flood control that we need to be able to get from the property to the north to the access into the flood control. The northern third about there abouts is owned by the Moores. The southern 2/3 is owned by Bill Nilsson and his wife. We've got a purchase agreement put together with the Nilssons, still working with the Moores on that tract there. That one will be coming, but this is the section that requires a public hearing prior to acquisition by the city of any real property. Answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions at all you might have? Marie, I see you're here. Okay, very good. If not, if no further discussion, then I will close the hearing and ask for consideration of approval for the mayor to execute a purchase agreement and all related documents between Bill and Marie Nielsen and the City of Norfolk for property located north of Norfolk Avenue between the flood control and Victory Road.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion with a second. If no further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, and next is a public hearing at the request of Michael and Connie Cooper for a zone change from R1 Single Family Residential to RR Rural Residential District on property located at 901 Forest Drive. And again, I will open the public hearing and look to you. Sure, come on forward. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mike Cooper, and I own the property, so 901, 903, and 905 Forest Drive. Last fall, I asked that you change the zoning on property 903, which is lot 60, so that I could combine that with my current residence in order to build a 60 by 40 shed. That was approved. I went and had utilities marked, and they ran the utilities not down the property line, but down the lot, middle of the lot. So feasibly you couldn't fit that kind of a building in there and maintain your easements that you need. So because of that, I need to go ahead and ask to change that lot 59 also be rezoned from R1 to RR.
Okay, any questions for him at all? Anyone? All right, Michael, thank you. Val, do you have anything you want to add to that? Any comments on that? I'm not sure I understand exactly what we're doing, but as long as,
Well, what happened is last fall, July, I guess, Lot 60 is just to the west of his property that he has his home on,
okay,
and he rezoned it from R1 to RR so that his home property and this property would be the same zoning to put a garage on, an
Sure,
accessory
yeah.
building. And as he explained, once he got that rezoned last fall and located the utilities, the setbacks weren't able to be maintained with the utilities. And since
Okay.
he owned this lot 59 also,
I
that's
see.
why he's come back to rezone it as RR, so they can be combined then.
okay, all right. All right, no other questions, or, go ahead.
Do we, with that, need to remove a lot line, or is he going to be able to build across it, or that will be coming back, or?
That'll be coming back because it'll need to be a plat to combine those 3 lots into one, because otherwise you can't just put an accessory building on just a lot without a primary use. So that's being worked on, I believe, by JEO also. So we just needed to get all of the zoning as one zoning before that comes back in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation, I appreciate that. Any other questions at all? If not, do we have a planning commission report, Beth?
The Norfolk Planning Commission held a public hearing on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016, at the request of Michael and Connie Cooper to consider a zone change from R1 to RR, and the Planning Commission recommended approval on the request at a 6-0 vote.
Okay, I will close this hearing then and ask for consideration of ordinance number 5387, approving a zone change from R1 to RR on property located at 901 Forest Drive.
Your Honor, I'd introduce ordinance number 5387.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Any further discussion at all? Short title, Beth?
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska, amending the zoning district map of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and providing for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
And with that, I would ask that you vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5387 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I move we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5387 on second and third.
All right, we have a motion with a second to suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5387 on second and third. If no further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5387 carries on second and third.
All right, and under our regular agenda, we're looking for consideration of approval of ordinance number 5388, which is amending ordinance number 5358 as passed August 17th, 2015, which is correcting an error in the legal description, specifically the omission of fifth addition in referencing the property for a change of zoning designation.
Your Honor, I'd introduce ordinance number 5388 on first reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Discussion on this? Is this you, Val, that wants to give a little explanation here?
Yes, this is actually good timing since Lot 59. This is the Lot 60 that we were just talking about that passed in last fall. And it was just a omission error that we missed the word fifth in the ordinance number 5358 in the legal description. So that's what we're correcting.
I would call it a housekeeping error, or housekeeping cleanup?
I would,
Okay,
yes.
all right, we'll accept that. Any other discussion or questions? All right, Do we have a short title?
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to amend ordinance number 5358 as passed by the mayor and city council of the City of Norfolk on August 17, 2015, to correct an omission in the legal description contained in ordinance number 5358, which ordinance amended the zoning district map of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
All right, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5388 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, since this is a housekeeping measure and we had passed the ordinance in front of this, I would move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5388 on second and third reading.
Second.
A motion with a second to suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5388 on second and third. If no further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5388 carries on second and third.
Okay, and next is consideration of approval of ordinance number 5389, vacating the east 7 feet of 6th Street right-of-way from approximately 30 feet north of Maple Avenue, north to Spruce Avenue.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance number 5389 on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion with a second, and it looks like we have Mark before us.
This request is to vacate the east 7 feet of 6th Street from basically 30 feet north of Maple Avenue right-of-way to Spruce Avenue. It's requested by the public schools to allow for an addition to their high school. Basically what happened is the street right-of-way is 80 feet there. At Burgess and 6th Street, it was 66 feet, and so halfway between Burgess and Maple goes from 66 to 80, so they were designing based off a 66-foot right-of-way for their addition. So to accommodate that and to make the east right-of-way line up, they requested the 7-foot to be vacated. They originally vacated all the way from that transition all the way to Georgia, but there were some utility conflicts, so that's why they reduced it to just from the 30 feet north of Maple to Spruce, just to vacate from, where their new addition is going to be.
Okay. Any questions for Mark on that? All right, thanks, Mark. Any other discussion? If not, Beth, you have a short title on this.
Excuse me, an ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to vacate the east 7 feet of 6th Street from approximately 30 feet north of Maple Avenue, north to Spruce Avenue, and providing for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Well, with that, I'd ask you to vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5389 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I move we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5389 on second and third.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion with a second to suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5389 on second and third. If no further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5389 carries on second and third.
All right, in final consideration of approval to award a contract to Penro Construction from Pender, Nebraska for the Northeast Industrial Sanitary Sewer Extension Phase 1 project for an amount of $733,024.50 for alternative base bid number 1, which is extra strength vitrified clay pipe. Hugh, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Oh, you should read it.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I will let you get into further discussion for us, Mark.
Basically, we had 4 contractors submit bids on this project, and we bid 2 alternative materials. One was clay, one was PVC. Those bids range from $600,000 to $1.1 million in round numbers. Penro was the low for both alternates. PVC, their bid was $602,000, and then the clay bid was $733,000. We are actually in discussion with the engineer. We are actually recommending to go with the clay alternate on this project. Just, I guess, a little bit of background on that is typically when we would recommend clay over PVC, 3 reasons probably why we would look at that. One is in industrial areas where you have potential for high strength waste. Clay is a proven material over the last 100 years. PVC's only been around 50 years, and so clay is essentially immune to all types of sewage, where PVC is susceptible to solvent-based chemicals and high temperature discharge. And PVC over time does lose its strength. So that's one of the reasons why we would recommend clay over PVC is in these industrial areas. The other scenario would be in a transmission line that may have industrial flows or may be difficult to replace, due to life cycle costs. And then the other scenario where we would recommend clay over PVC is large diameter mains in high urban areas where it takes less disruption to put in clay due to your bedding and your trench requirements. So, but this one is mainly because it is an industrial area, the northeastern part of town. So with that, I can answer any more questions. We did run this by subcommittee who approved it. I think about 4, nothing total.
Okay. Any questions for Mark at all? I'm hearing none, so thanks very much. And with that, any further discussion among council? If not, I would ask for your vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
All right, and finally is an administrative report. It looks like Sheila's here tonight to talk a little bit about the comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2015, along with the related single audit report and the auditor's letter.
As the mayor said, there are 3 financial reports included in the agenda packets. These are under enclosure 31, beginning on page 88 of your packets. There's the CAFR, which is the comprehensive annual financial report, single audit reports, and the auditor's management letter.
You'd be surprised.
First report in the agenda packets is CAFR.
Do I start over? Okay. The auditors gave us a clean opinion that the city's financial statements are prepared fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The best place to look for a broad overview of the city's financial condition is in the 2 government-wide financial statements on pages 30 and 31 of the CAFR. This is page 124 and 125 in the agenda packets. These statements are prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting, which is similar to how most businesses prepare their financial statements. The statement of activities is on page 31. This is similar to a business's income statement. I'll focus my review on this page. On the top part, the various government functions are listed down the left-hand column. The expenses on a full accrual basis, including depreciation, are in the next column for each of these government functions. For instance, the expense of running the library was $1,386,198 last year. The next 3 columns are the program revenues derived from operation of these government functions. And these are broken down by charges for services, operating grants and contributions, and capital grants and contributions. And finally, the net cost of operating that government function is shown, broken out by governmental activities, which are subsidized by general revenues. In other words, the user charges and other program revenues are not expected to cover the cost. And business-type activities, where the users are expected to pay the full cost. As would be expected, the city's governmental activities show a net expense, and the city's business-type activities show a net revenue. The bottom half of this statement shows the general revenues of the city used to cover the net cost of the governmental activities shown on the top half. When general revenues are combined with the net expense or revenue shown above, you get the change in net position for the year. This is similar to the net income for a business. This is toward the bottom of page 31. As can be seen, the city's net position increased $6,828,719 during the year. This is almost $3 million more than last year. $5.2 million of the increase in net position was in the governmental activities. This compared to $2.2 million last year. One of the reasons for the increase was a $1.3 million increase in sales tax. Voters approved a half-cent sales tax increase for the library expansion, and this became effective April 1st, 2015. And also, sales tax increased following the June 2014 hailstorm as properties were being repaired. The other big reason for the increase in governmental activities net position was a $1.8 million decrease in public works expense. During the year, there were not as many street projects as the prior year. The prior year had large overlay projects, including Victory Road, Norfolk Avenue, and First Street. $1.6 million of the increase in net position was in the business-type activities, which report the city's 3 enterprise funds, the water, sewer, and solid waste funds. This compared to $1.8 million increase last year. All 3 enterprise funds had an increase in net position, or net income as it is known in business. $700,000 of the increase was in the sewer fund, and $700,000 was in the water fund. The water and sewer rates have been set to fund the large capital improvements shown in the water and sewer master plans. Something new this year was the implementation of GASB 68. GASB stands for Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They make the accounting rules. GASB 68 changes how we report pensions. We now report a net pension liability or asset on the financial statements related to the city's pre-84 fire defined benefit pension plan. During this year of implementation, we adjusted the beginning net position by $50,081 for the net pension liability as of September 30, 2014. This can be seen on the 3rd line from the bottom on page 31. As of September 30, 2015, the city had a net pension asset of $19,918. The second report in the agenda packet is the single audit reports, which are really several separate reports, and this starts on page 220 of your agenda packets. The first of these single audit reports is on internal control over financial reporting, beginning on page 222 of the agenda packet. This report notes no weaknesses in the city's internal controls for financial reporting. The second single audit report included in the agenda packets, beginning on page 224, is the report on compliance with grant requirements and the internal control program in place for compliance with these grant requirements. It also reports on the city's schedule of expenditure of federal awards. The auditors report the city complied with the grant compliance requirements, and they didn't identify any deficiencies in our internal control for compliance with these grant requirements. The report also states that our schedule of expenditure of federal award is fairly presented. Our schedule of expenditure of federal awards is on page 230 of the agenda packets and shows the city spent $697,000 of federal grant dollars during the year. Our major federal program was community development block grants, for which we spent $533,000. The city had 10 other federal grants with expenditures totaling over $164,000. The third report in the agenda packets is the required communication from the auditors, or the management letter, beginning on page 233 of the agenda packets. This letter talks about the auditor's responsibilities under generally accepted auditing standards and is a clean report noting no disagreements with management or other difficulties for performing the audit. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
That was presented very well. Any questions for her at all? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you very much, Sheila. Good job. And with that, I see nothing else on the agenda, so we are adjourned.